Sergio is in trouble. As the Belgian Grand Prix weekend starts off weak, Lando Norris talks about challenging for the World Championship and Mercedes losing huge time with an upgraded car. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's get straight into the latest F1 news. Yuki Sonoda will be starting the Belgian Grand Prix on the back foot thanks to 60-place grid penalty. The VCARB driver sounded shocked to hear that his penalty was so large while speaking to Will Buxton after free practice 2. Speaking to Formula One pundit Will Buxton in the press pen after free practice 2, Yuki Tsunoda seemed to learn of his massive 60-place grid penalty for the first time. "Oh, Jesus!" he exclaimed, sending Buxton into a fit of laughter. While Max Verstappen only received a 10-place grid penalty for taking a new internal combustion engine, Tsunoda faced a massive slew of upgrades. His refreshed power unit features a new combustion engine, turbocharger, MGU-H, MGU-K, energy store, control electronics, and exhaust. Because these changes placed him beyond his allowed allocation of PU components, Tsunoda triggered the 10-place grid penalty 6 different times. Continuing his conversation with Buxton, Tsunoda kept his expectations reasonable for his Belgian Grand Prix, especially as rain looms over the forecast. "Normally we perform well in the rain," Tsunoda reflected. "For now, I prefer rain, but any condition I'll just focus on what I can help for Daniel, slipstreaming or whatever." That's because Tsunoda identified some issues with his car during practice. "I think it was pretty difficult, especially for our side of the garage," he said when asked about his perceptions of his practice session. "We found the issue, especially where we're lacking where we're compared to other cars, including the other side of the garage. Hopefully we can repair that for tomorrow." Sergio Perez has revealed his car was quite different to that of teammate Max Verstappen in Belgian Grand Prix practice after a tough start to what could prove to be his last F1 race weekend as a Red Bull driver. It is understood that a clause in Perez's contract, signed as recently as last month, will allow Red Bull to discard the Mexican driver if he is in excess of 100 points behind Verstappen at the time of the August shutdown. The gap currently stands at 141, with a maximum of 26 on offer for the winning driver of Sunday's race at Spa. Media understands that Perez is likely to be dropped by Red Bull entirely if the team choose not to continue with him into the second half of the F1 2024 season, with a demotion to junior team VCARB not considered a likely outcome. With Red Bull believed to be judging Perez's performance relative to Verstappen, as opposed to his final result at Spa, the 34-year-old suffered a challenging start to his potentially make-or-break weekend. After lapping 0.957 seconds slower than Verstappen in FP1, the gap between the Red Bull drivers expanded to 1.027s in the second session as Perez ended the day 9th, 6 positions behind his teammate. With Verstappen serving a 10-place grid penalty this weekend for taking a new engine, the emphasis will be on Perez at Spa to prove that he can step up to lead Red Bull's charge. Speaking after the session, Perez revealed that he had been playing around with the setup of his RB20 on Friday, with Red Bull gathering lots of data due to the quite different configuration of both cars. He said, "We've been playing around. We've been doing some stuff with it, and we just haven't been able to fully extract everything out of it. So some bits to improve. I think we got plenty of information. Both cars were quite different, so I think we've got a lot to go through for tomorrow and obviously for the race, because although the tarmac is quite different, the degradation seems to be quite extreme." Wet conditions are expected to arrive at Spa on Saturday, with Perez spinning out of the last 2 rain-affected qualifying sessions in Britain and Hungary. Perez admitted that an interesting weekend is in store as he aims to state his case to be retained for the rest of the F1 2024 season. He added, "I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think it's going to be quite an interesting weekend. I think tomorrow qualifying can be potentially wet, so going into the weekend there are still a lot of unknowns coming up." Media understands that VCARB driver Daniel Ricciardo and Red Bull reserve Liam Lawson are both in contention to become Verstappen's teammate for the rest of the season if Perez is replaced. It is believed that there is no clear favorite between the pair as it stands. Ricciardo previously raced for Red Bull between 2014-18, claiming all but one of his 8 career victories with the Milton Keynes squad. Lawson, meanwhile, has made just 5 F1 appearances to date, having stood in for an injured Ricciardo in mid-2023, registering the VCARB, then AlphaTauri, team's best result at that stage of the season by finishing 9th in Singapore. Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko revealed earlier this year that a clause in Lawson's contract will allow the New Zealander, who has attracted interest from Audi, to walk away from the energy drinks giant entirely if he is not promoted to a permanent seat, with either Red Bull Racing or VCarb for F1 2025. Red Bull's option to promote Lawson is believed to expire in September. McLaren driver Lando Norris has teased that there is still more to come from him at the Belgian Grand Prix, despite setting the pace in FP2 at Spa. Just days after the team secured only their second 1-2 finish since 2010 in Hungary, McLaren were the class of the field in the second practice session in Belgium. Norris set the pace with a fastest lap of 1:42.260, more than 2/10 faster than teammate Oscar Piastri. Max Verstappen, the reigning world champion, was marginally slower than Piastri in FP2 after topping the timesheets in opening practice earlier on Friday, but the Red Bull driver will take a 10-place grid penalty at Spa for taking a new engine. Although McLaren appear to be strong favorites to win at Spa, Norris warned that Red Bull are looking very quick at this stage. And despite his fearsome pace, the Miami Grand Prix winner said that he didn't feel very comfortable on track on Friday, with Norris hoping to get into a better rhythm ahead of qualifying. Assessing his day, he said, "Good. Still tough, still close. Red Bull are very quick at the minute, so tricky, but I just haven't felt very comfortable today with the car, so hopefully I just wake up tomorrow and feel a bit more comfortable with it. We're trying to improve a few things. I know it looked good on the timesheets, but I've not felt super comfortable in just going out and doing it. So hopefully I can just get in a bit more of a rhythm and feel a bit better out there." Asked if he has any idea to make his feeling with the car better for Saturday, Norris hinted only minor tweaks are required. "Not at the minute because I just got out of the car 2 seconds ago," he said. "I don't think it's a lot that's required. We're always able to come to a circuit now and be within a few millimeters of margin straight away. It's not like you ever really change the whole car overnight anymore. If you do, you haven't done a good enough job before the weekend. So we've prepared well and we've got a good setup on the car and it's working. But just from my side, just feeling like I can go out and nail it, I'm not quite there just yet." Wet conditions are expected to arrive on Saturday at Spa, where Norris crashed heavily in a rain-affected session in 2021. Norris hinted McLaren are likely to pursue a high downforce setup to cope with the rain, with the team already nudging in that direction regardless of the weather forecast. He said, "Downforce questions will arise. Of course, generally for the rain, you want to edge towards the higher downforce, and I think that's maybe the direction to go in anyway. But I don't know just yet, so I'll sit down with my guys and we'll talk about it." Pierre Gasly has moved to quash speculation over the weight impact of the Alpine Deadpool and Wolverine livery in use in Belgium. Alpine unveiled a special one-off livery for the Belgian Grand Prix, the final race before the F1 2024 summer break, to celebrate Wednesday's release of the new Marvel blockbuster, Deadpool and Wolverine, starring Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Reynolds part of a large collection of investors which secured a 24% stake in the Alpine team last year. In recent times, as teams battle to trim weight from their Formula One challengers, liveries have been an easy target, teams going for more exposed black carbon fiber, a tactic which Alpine utilized for their F1 2024 machine, the A524. Alpine driver Gasly was therefore pressed on speculation surrounding the potential added weight from this Deadpool and Wolverine livery, and thus the performance impact that it may have on their Belgian Grand Prix weekend. However, Gasly made it clear that the livery has not added any weight to the A524. "It doesn't change anything," he confirmed to reporters. "There have been some stories out there, but yeah, the weight is exactly the same, and there is no penalty on that side. And yeah, personally, I think it looks fabulous, and it looks great, and it's quite exciting." That was the weight talk busted then, but Alpine Executive Technical Director David Sanchez was pressed on how much preparation time it took away from the team in order to change the livery. Again, Sanchez was moving to cool any narrative of disruption, making it clear that the livery change did not create any impacts on preparation or force a delay to new parts. "I have to say, for me and all the engineers, it hasn't demanded a couple more days in preparation or to delay any parts," he confirmed to media. Alpine sit P8 in the F1 2024 Constructors' Championship standings going into the Belgian Grand Prix with 9 points on the board. Mercedes thinks its pretty bad day of practice at Formula One's Belgian Grand Prix was the result of losing 0.9 seconds on the straights against McLaren. Neither George Russell nor Lewis Hamilton made much of an impression on the opening day of running at Spa-Francorchamps, as McLaren ended FP2 1-2 on the timesheets. Having run with too little wing in the morning and consequently struggling in the second sector of the Spa track, Mercedes added more downforce to help better balance its performance for the later session. However, while that setup change did boost the overall feel of the car, it did not improve its performance relative to the opposition at all, with Russell ending second practice in 6th spot and Hamilton down in 10th. Of particular concern to Mercedes was the fact that its data traces suggested the main deficit to the opposition was in straight-line speed, with early estimates suggesting the gap to the benchmark being as much as 0.9 seconds on the straights alone. Speaking afterwards, Hamilton said that after a run of good races for Mercedes, there were not many positives to take away from the early running at Spa-Francorchamps. It was a pretty bad day, admitted Hamilton, who lost his first 2 attempts on softs in FP2. Obviously, it's been feeling great in the past couple of races, and it just felt completely different today. We worked on it. The first session was not great, but then in the second session, we made some changes, and it started off great. Then, when I got to the soft tire, I just couldn't improve. There's a bunch of balance issues we have through the lap, and it was better in this session, but everyone else went even better. So, to be 1.2 seconds behind is not great. Russell added, "We have got some work to do tonight. I think McLaren are definitely a step ahead of us at the moment, and Red Bull, so we just need to keep on assessing and go from there." Russell felt that the competitive picture of the weekend was not totally locked in, though, with him suspecting McLaren ran in a high engine mode. "I think the McLarens were at max power, which gives you a couple of tenths around this track," he said. "So tomorrow is definitely a different day, and I'm sure we can find a bit more tonight. We've often had very good Fridays, and the others have caught up on Saturday, so hopefully that'll be us this weekend." Mattia Binotto's sole leadership of Audi's Formula One effort should change the speed of its Sauber takeover, says team representative Alessandro Aluni Bravi. Earlier this week, Audi announced team CEO Andrea Seidel and chairman Oliver Hoffmann had left the team, with former Ferrari F1 chief Binotto joining on 1st August to replace both. Audi announced its F1 entry 2 years ago, but despite accelerating its full takeover of the Sauber group, its integration into the Swiss-based squad and its ability to attract talent has not gone as smoothly as hoped. As well as languishing at the bottom of the championship this year, a behind-the-scenes power struggle between Seidel and Hoffmann has further convinced Audi CEO Gernot Dollner to replace both and bring in Binotto as the sole leader of the team. In the past, car manufacturers have often been accused of getting too involved into the running of their F1 teams, and Binotto's wide-ranging responsibilities appear to be an effort by Dollner to give the former Ferrari man full freedom to do what he thinks is best for the squad. As of the Audi takeover, there was a need for a change of speed of the F1 project, Aluni Bravi explained. The targets are clear, to have full responsibility and efficiency in the decision-making process. And I think the fact that Mattia will have a clear leadership reporting directly to Audi AG CEO Gernot Dollner is an important sign of this new process that will help us to even further accelerate this transformation. With Binotto expected to bring in a team principal to report into him, Aluni Bravi said the Italian had his full support to make further management changes, also if that means he is asked to take on a different role. It's clear that Mattia is the leader of the team, and of course it will be part of his decision to establish the management team, said Aluni Bravi. I don't think that this is relating to a single individual. Mattia has the full support of everybody at Audi, including myself. He has a proven track record, a vast experience of more than 25 years in Formula One. I think he is very competent with a very proven background, especially in technical matters. He has all the characteristics in order to guide our structure towards 2026 and onwards. Lando Norris sees no reason for McLaren to make him the team's #1 driver, so it can boost his chances of beating Max Verstappen to the Formula One Drivers' Championship. The Briton is currently second in the standings, 76 points behind his Red Bull rival, with McLaren widely considered to have the most consistently fast car in F1 right now. But the team orders controversy from the Hungarian Grand Prix, triggered by Norris delaying handing back the race lead to teammate Oscar Piastri, has prompted some to suggest that McLaren should actually be throwing all its weight behind Norris. That is because with Verstappen still having such an advantage in the points table, Norris needs every point he can get, and should not risk having a shot at the title compromised by teammate Piastri finishing ahead of him. But that is a situation that Norris disagrees with, as he thinks the best approach is one that McLaren has adopted, allowing both its drivers to go out there and race on equal terms. I still need to earn it. I still need to go out there and drive quicker than everyone, he said. I don't think that changes anything. I don't know why it is now the point all of a sudden where you would have a bias over one. We've never had the bias in the team. But despite the growing reality of a championship shot for Norris making the team orders debate more relevant, he thinks it is far too early to think of changing the team's approach. Why now, all of a sudden, do I have a chance? He said. I've had a chance the whole season and we're only halfway through. We've got a hell of a long way to go. So maybe a little bit further down the line, the approach can change, but that time is to be decided. Norris also felt it would be wrong to link what happened in Hungary to the World Championship situation, because the Hungaroring events were purely about protecting race positions. I shouldn't have led the race, and people should never have then had the perception the team is not biased towards Lando, he said. If Oscar was leading the whole race, there's absolutely zero reason why they should ask him to suddenly let me pass, if you're thinking of it from a championship point of view. Piastri backed Norris's view that it was far too early to be considering any idea of team orders, even though he accepted that somewhere down the road, McLaren could be in a situation where it made sense to throw weight behind one driver. We're still very early in the season and I'm a long way behind in the drivers' standings, but I'm also not out of it, he said. It doesn't take that many races to be in the same position that Lando's in. Let's see how it plays out. If they need me to be a team player and try and help Lando, then of course I'll do that. But I think the biggest thing is trying to score the most points of all the teams and win the constructors. I think that's definitely the biggest opportunity we have, and we'll see if this happens as well. Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.